Okay, so the first thing we're going to have a keynote speaker, and she works directly with young people. She's a young person herself. Her name is Shaniqua Benjamin, a writer, a poet, born and bred in Croydon. She fell in love with writing at an early age. After dropping out of university in 2013, she fully embraced her love of writing and shared her first blog, Inside My Head, later going on to write pieces for the Croydon Citizen, the Croydon Guardian, Live Mag UK, Limelight Magazine, Just Croydon and the Huffington Post. She was also shortlisted for the Mirror's Voice of Generation apprenticeship. Her aim and hope is that she can inspire other young people who may be struggling so they too can achieve great things and make the difference. Ultimately, she wants to empower young people to rise up, use their voices, and be the change they want to see. Would you please welcome Shaniqua Benjamin.
There is a conflict waging on our streets, and nobody seems to know who is fighting who or why they're even fighting each other. We look around wondering when this will finally end, or asking when peace will actually come. And I believe that part of the reason this is happening is because we are not spending enough time listening to young people and ensuring they feel heard, especially those who are carrying knives or guns or other weapons, or who are in gangs or who are dealing drugs. Now, what they have to say may not be nice, and we may not like what they have to say or want to hear it at all, but it is essential that we do hear it and that their voices are heard, because they are just as important part of society as everyone else, which means their voices are just as key. We cannot keep focusing on the negative labels like criminal or drug dealer or knife carrier or anything like that, and we need to stop putting on labels like monsters and thugs and feral, and remember that someone's son or daughter or someone's child, or it's someone's brother or sister or friend. But most importantly, these are just human beings who make mistakes just like we do. I started my organisation, Young People Insight, also known as YPI, because I really wanted to make the voices of young people heard, and not only make sure their voices were heard, but that they felt heard and felt that their voices matter and that they mattered as individuals, that they could come into a space where they were just seen as people, not as the labels that were put on them or the labels that they were starting to buy into. A space where they could meet others and feel comfortable and feel loved and feel cherished, and never ever have to feel as lonely and out of place in the world as I felt. And also to find that voice, the voice that are inside of them, the voice that I was able to find. Every third Tuesday of the month, we come here actually, and we come to an event called The Kickback. And it's essentially kicking back, sitting down, relaxing with each other, and having a really, really great conversation. These young people come and say the most interesting, amazing, and intelligent things. And every single time I come out of there learning something new and having my mindset challenged. And it's so great because we are all different, all living different kinds of lives, and we all look different. And it's great because it's young people in a room talking about things concerning young people, not them being talked about without them being in the room, not them being talked at when they're in the room, or them actually speaking and then being talked over. It's them actually coming and having the bulk of that conversation, leading out on the conversation even, and talking about things from social media to sex, to culture, to careers, to mental health, and also youth violence, which we've spoken about on a number of times and we'll actually be speaking about again in June. And these are always really, really, really rich quality conversations with people feeling really comfortable and able to share. We spoke about self-love on Tuesday, and it was amazing with all the personal experiences and stories that we were all sharing about our lives. So we had the kickback. And then on the last Tuesday of the month, we also have something called Poetic Insight, which is young people coming to share their voices through poetry and spoken words. And just in case you're wondering, when I say young people, my age is 16 to 26, because I feel like that's that really kind of awkward age of being a young person where you're having to like suddenly transition and grow up from being this child and teenager to being an adult, and being in adult events with people who are older than you and look different to you and having to navigate with no one really helping you. This is like that bridge for that. And so we come, to Urban Exchange Bar and Grill this time and hear beautiful, inspiring poetry and spoken word from these young people. And I always go away feeling enriched and uplifted, especially when there's days when I myself don't even want to be there because I'm ill or I'm not feeling in a great headspace. And I also go away feeling proud to be a young person and frustrated that the media aren't covering things like this, the positive voices and amazing things that young people are doing. So we have Kickback, we have Poetic Insight, we have the occasional social events we can get together and have fun and meet each other in a really relaxed, simple way. And there is also the blog, giving young people the chance to make their voices heard through writing, which I believe is so, so key, particularly when there is media that is putting these stories about them in the way they think they should be told, or they're just spinning these negative headlines. And when I say their voice, I mean their raw, authentic, honest voice. Not the way people think they should be written, that school has told them the perfect or good way, whatever that is. It's them sounding like them. And I make sure that if they send me in something that I only correct really glaring grammatical errors or something that really does not make sense, and I will make sure I ask them, because I don't want everyone sounding like Shaniqua, even though unfortunately it's mainly my voice on the blog still, but I'm trying to change that. But I really want them to be heard, because it is just so key and people are listened to, because we live in a society where young people are often seen as this alien and different thing because of our younger age, which is weird, because anything that affects, or most things, shall I say, that will affect you affects us. Those who are under 18 couldn't vote on that horrible thing called Brexit, and yet it's going to affect their lives. So we need to be involved in the conversations that are happening. One of the reasons why writing is so important to YPI is not because writing is important to me, but because YPI originated as a blog when I was trying to find my way and trying to find my voice. As you heard in the introduction, I dropped out of university in 2013. I was studying fashion design, and I thought this is what I wanted to do, and then I realized I really, really hated it. And from the first term, I knew I hated it. But I stayed there for 2 years thinking that's where I should be and that's what I should be doing, and felt drained emotionally, mentally, and physically. And finally decided enough was enough and made the brave and best decision to leave and become a writer. But it was still a struggle because I knew I couldn't deal with going to education again. It was too much for me. And I was struggling with low self-confidence, low self-esteem, low self-worth, not believing in myself, and also not wanting to really come out of my house because I felt like I couldn't be around people and I'd really failed and I wanted to just hide at home where it was comfortable. And I was also on job seekers, which, if you've been on that, knows how horrible and degrading that can feel. And so I was trying to fight through all this and find a job and become a writer and find my way again. And I got the blessing of being supported by a charity in Croydon who got me on their Work Ready program and who introduced me to loads of amazing young people and who also introduced me to some local papers. So I was able to start writing and getting out there and speaking to people and doing all these really exciting and amazing things. And one thing that also happened is they introduced me to a journalist who said, why don't you start up a blog and make young people your niche? And I thought, I already have a blog. Why not? Let me do that. So I started the YPI blog in 2014, focusing on 4 key issues that were really important to me and affected young people. Unemployment, because I was unemployed. Education, because even though I was academic, I felt I'd been failed by the education system in many ways, and it is still failing many young people now. Self-harm, because I struggled with self-harm. And knife crime, because I believe it's something that's really important to all of us, and the organisation that was helping me was started to combat knife crime. And I really thought it was really key, because even though we may not know someone who has been stabbed or we've stabbed someone, it affects our communities, and we all need to work together to put an end to it rather than leaving it to just a few key people. As well as those 4 key issues, I wanted to look at ways we could more engage in the community, organisations who were doing great things, and also tell the stories of young people doing inspiring and interesting and wonderful things, just to balance out the negativity in the media, and just so we could learn about more that's happening. And as I was doing that and writing more, I realised that, one, I wanted to get other people to tell their stories. So I wanted to start something where I could engage them in person so they share their stories online. but also seeing that we're online a lot as young people, and that communication skills are getting lost and confidence is getting lost, people are getting socially isolated. So I knew I needed to start a space where we could come together and just talk. And so the idea for YPI as a physical platform was born, but I was still struggling with low self-confidence and lack of skills and all these sort of things, but another blessing came my way. And in 2015, I was invited to go to Bosnia as part of a creative program called The Complete Freedom of Truth, which completely transformed me. I developed as a creative, I grew in confidence, I developed as a leader, and I overcome many of the fears that I'd had and were holding me back, and finally came home to Croydon ready to launch YPI as what I wanted to be. So I sorted some things out, wrote some key things, had a short film launch with fixers, and then in January 2016, I held my first ever discussion group, and I've been having them monthly ever since. And in January 2017, I introduced the monthly poetry nights, and I've been having those ever since. And I love it. It's rewarding, and it's been so much fun, and I've met some really amazing people, but it's difficult. I've wanted to give up so many times. I have cried so many tears. I've been so frustrated, and it has been such a lonely road. Those people see what happens on the day, but don't realize that I'm doing basically everything myself, and it is not easy. But I'm fortunate that through all my struggles and lapses of confidence and difficulties, I serve a God who loves me and I have faith in, and has given me strength and the will to carry on when I've wanted to give up, and has given me a purpose and showed me my purpose of having love, and has given me a heart to change the world. I'm fortunate to have supportive, loving parents and a supportive, loving sister and encouraging, positive friends, and also having the grounding from my extended family, my church family, my Complete Freedom of Truth family, now my YPI family at times, and also some really awesome people in my life. But the thing is, I'm blessed and fortunate, but there are so many young people who don't have that. They don't have those people and that grounding in their lives, and they really, really are in desperate need of love and care and support and guidance and advice and all these amazing things. And frustratingly, we have a government and people in power who just don't get it, simply because they don't understand what it's like to live in austerity, or to grow up without a dad, or to be racially stereotyped, or to have to eat crappy food because that's all that they can afford to buy, and all their parents have time to prepare because they're busy trying to make money to keep electricity on and put food on the table at all. And they don't know what it's like to grow up where there's a crazy idea of masculinity that is very toxic, and it's all about the girls and the cars and the money and all these other mad things. But we are on the ground. We see these things firsthand. We may have lived through it and we can get it. So we need to spend more time listening and understanding and empathizing with these young people to ensure that they're heard, so we can get to the root causes of youth violence and gang conflicts. Because I'm telling you, these young people are hurt and misunderstood, and they're angry and they're lost and probably dealing with undisclosed and unnoticed mental health issues, but with no outlet. And they need people to love them and to care about them and to actually spend time thinking about them. They may not always know it, but they do. So let's ensure that we are making these voices heard, and not just making them heard, making sure they feel heard and are being spread out there, because it's not only these young people's right, but I believe it's a step in the right direction towards making good and positive change happen. Thank you.